We're back with chapter 21.
We're back.
20. 20, not 21. 21 and 22 will be next week. And then we're going to do, was it Ezra?
Nehemiah.
That's right.
Nehemiah is awesome. We need to do 1 Corinthians eventually. I'm listening to a really good study right now on 1 Corinthians. I think it's a really good study. It's a weekly podcast. Every Wednesday it comes out.
Oh, cool.
We've only done chapter 1. Of course, I'm familiar with 1 Corinthians, but listening to someone else talk about different ideas in there is awesome. So,
Yeah.
a lot of options. We have like a whole book we can go through.
Yeah.
Whole Bible. But anyway, chapter 20 today. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Yes, sir.
I could probably be a radio host.
You could.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
could. You do a really good job.
Yeah. Anyway, Satan in chapter 20 is we kind of see his destiny here. It's important to know before we start with chapter 20 that consequences in eternity matter. I just did a lesson. I taught my college class last Tuesday about the truth about rebellion and what rebellion looks like. Rebellion isn't going out and being habitually bad and being consistently bad and doing things all the time that's wrong. Rebellion is being at fault with God in one simple place, right? God says that if we stumble in one spot, then we are rebelling against His word. We're rebelling against His law, and in that case, we are rebellious and we are in rebellion. So rebellion, and something that's important to know about rebellion and consequences is that rebellion is a choice. Right? We don't have to be rebellious. We choose to be rebellious. Paul says, the good things I want to do, I don't do. And all the things I don't want to do is what I end up doing. Right? That's a choice that we make, and it's because of our flesh is so evil. Paul says, wretched man am I in Romans chapter 7. Yeah. Rebellion has consequences. Rebellion is there's no middle ground. If I was to take a drop of food coloring and drop it in a bottle, just one drop, that whole bottle's tainted. But if I don't do that, then the bottle's pure. There's no middle ground. You can't have some rebellion and some goodness, right? We talk about lukewarmness all the time. You can't have one or the other. You can't have both. But luckily, rebellion can be changed. If you've made it to Revelation chapter 20 in your life, literally, like if you're living during Revelation chapter 20, well, really you're dead at Revelation chapter 20. If you've made it to Revelation chapter 19, it's a little too late. So if you're watching this, I urge you that Revelation can be changed, don't make it to Revelation chapter 19 in your life. It's not a good place to be. You won't win. There's no way from there.
Right.
Chapter 19, we got a little glimpse of the second coming, but in chapter 20, we get a lot more detail about what's going on. So you can start if you want.
Yeah. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven with a key to the abyss and a great chain in his hand. And he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who was the devil and Satan. So God has a trinity, right? What did it just say? The dragon, the devil, and Satan. Pretty interesting.
Yep. It's also interesting too, the argument that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was not Satan. That argument's made a lot.
Yeah.
This here, and it says, yours says the ancient serpent.
Yeah.
Mine says the serpent of old.
Right.
Who is the devil and Satan.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Cool. And bound him for 1,000 years. Now, just like Luke just said, you'll be here in Revelation 20 somewhere, But if you get the sequence of events, we're all in heaven. Well, 19 is happening. We're having the marriage supper of the Lamb. We're enjoying it. And 20, we get to kind of rule and reign with Christ for what? For 1,000 years without Satan. 100% Garden of Eden conditions, perfect world. Satan's bound up for 1,000 years. So let's just see what happens. And he threw him into the abyss and closed it, locked it up, putting a seal on it, so that he would no longer deceive the nations until the 1,000 years were completed. After he must be released for a short time. What do you think about that verse?
In verse 3, but after these things he must be released. One says he must be released for a little while. If we go back up to verse 1 and 2,
Yeah.
the 1,000 years is called the millennium.
Yes.
Um,
Millipede thousands, like millipede, millimeter.
I think that I know a lot of people think that this is Jesus reigning on earth for 1,000 years. And this is just commentaries, this is the belief of a lot of people. That Jesus is going to be in his earthly form on earth, reigning in person. And there's a lot of commentary that you can read that. That's not necessarily, I don't really agree or disagree with that. I think it's going to be hard for Jesus to be here if he's, anyway.
Yeah.
Let me see right here. So you're asking me what I think about after these things he must be released for a little while?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Well, he's going to be bound for 1,000 years. Earth is going to be perfect for 1,000 years. There's going to be different people being born and generations that have never heard of evil or sadness or sorrow, and Satan will be loosed again, and he'll learn one thing. He'll mess it all up again, which is interesting. Still haven't learned his lesson. Does that make sense?
Yeah, in verse 4 it says, "And I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was committed to them. Then I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for their witness to Jesus, and for the word of God, who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received his mark on their foreheads or on their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead did not live again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he who is a part of the first resurrection. Over such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years." So that's kind of what we talked about. And then verse 7, "Now when the 1,000 years had expired, Satan will be released from his prison. And he will go." So what's interesting to me is the first 3 verses here is like a prelude to what we're about to read.
Yeah.
Because now Satan's being released. And now when the 1,000 years have expired, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations which are in 4 corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, 2 others, and to gather them together to battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea. I used to know how many grains of sand were on the earth. No one knows how many grains of sand were on the earth. But I used to know like the numbers, and I could do some like cool facts about the sands. And it takes 1 grain of sand to make something the size of a basketball or a golf ball, and then all these things. But this says here that Gog and Magog, to gather them up to battle, whose number is the sand of the sea. That's a lot. They went up on the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints in the beloved city. The beloved city is Jerusalem.
Yeah, Jerusalem, Bethlehem.
think we're talking about Jerusalem here. They went up on the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints of the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. The devil who deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beasts of the false prophet are, and they will be tormented day and night forever. This is exactly what we talked about before.
Yep.
Satan convinces a group of people to go attack Jerusalem, go attack God's people, at a time when life, like you said, is perfect.
Yep.
Life is perfect at this time. Satan convinces these people to go and do this rebellious act, which is weird because we don't know rebellion, but Satan is the thief. He is rebellion. He is sin. He is all these things. And so when he's no longer bound, he has the ability to bring those things and not necessarily make you do them, but show you the fleshly desires of rebellion.
Yeah, because you see, the devil can never make you do anything.
Right.
God can't either.
Right.
And that's God. You
Yeah.
know, it's free will. And that's all it is you get, you're born and you can do whatever you want, You can become like, Billy Graham, You can become the second most successful, in my opinion, man of God, that was, free will. Or you could be like some of these other people that follow Satan. They don't know they're following Satan, but they are. But, it's all free will.
Yep.
And
similarly to what we were talking about before, is the earth perfect and Satan's released and he shows people the goodness of this rebellion and how much your flesh desires rebellion. And it's important to know that even when life is perfect, we have to make a choice.
Yep.
We can't blame our circumstances for all of our problems.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And if you choose not to trust in God, you essentially choose to be deceived.
This is also true.
Like you said, people who are following and worshiping Satan, they don't even know it.
Yeah.
If you choose not to follow and worship Christ, you're choosing to be deceived, and you may not even know it. So, verse 11 is amazing. This last bit into chapter 21 is awesome. So I'll let you read the last bit.
All right. Verse 11 says, "Then I saw a great white throne, and the one seated on it. Earth and heaven fled from his presence, and no place was found for them. And I also saw the dead, the great and small, standing before the throne, and the books were open." Now what do you think the books are? We'll talk about that here in a minute. Let's finish this out. This is really good stuff. Another book was open, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged according to their works by what was written in the books. And verse 13 says, "Then the sea gave up its dead, and the death and Hades, or hell, gave up their dead, and all were judged according to their works. Death and Hades and destruction were thrown down into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. And anyone not found written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire." So, what did it say? Not found. Anyone not found written in the book of life was cast down into the lake of fire. Now you got people that said they died and came back, and but the Bible says you die, that's that's it. Sorry, you can't come back, and tell the story. You can say what marijuana was that like hard drug that you hallucinate. It's not marijuana. I don't think.
No, a lot of people. There's like mushrooms. There's a hallucinogen. I think I'm not big in the drug world, so I don't know a lot about them. Maybe something like. I know a lot of mushrooms are a big thing. People will like eat mushrooms or something that gives them these crazy visions, hallucinations. But yeah, I'm not big on the drug stuff. I don't know a lot about it. Except that fentanyl will kill you so fast, even if you don't use it. If you breathe in the vicinity of fentanyl, it will kill you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't either, but I know that some people like to do. Like to have visions, and to do that you have to take some kind of drug to do it anyway. But it's easy to be deceived because you can fall into a trap and say, hey, you're a good person. You go to church, you play bass for the praise team, you do all this good stuff. Luke has got to be a Christian. Does that mean that he is a Christian?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, he is, but but that doesn't mean that you are actually a Christian just because you go to church, you go do all this good stuff. It doesn't mean all that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because what matters is the salvation, And that salvation is very easy to do. Easy to get saved.
At the end of the day, you have two options when it comes to salvation. Or not even salvation, but when it comes to what you want, it comes down to two options. Do you want what is fair, or do you want forgiveness? Right. Or do you want what you deserve, or do you want the pardon for what you deserve? Fair, forgiveness, deserved, not deserved. It's the same thing, and there's a way to have both. You don't have to accept what you deserve because you already got it.
Right.
But there's a gift that you don't deserve, but it's being offered to you anyway, that you can get as well. So.
True.
So that's chapter 20. 2 more to go.
2 more to go, and we will finish that up next Saturday.
Let's do it.
We're at 18 minutes. We're doing a lot better.
Yeah, I bet people don't like watching 30, 40-minute videos.
Yeah. We will see you next Saturday.